Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome to Philadelphia, all of you. As my deputy mayor, my immediate boss, mentioned, this is a great city, and we hope that you're able to enjoy yourselves while you're here. They call us the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, but we are best known as being the birthplace of our nation here, and we're very proud of that fact. So on behalf of Mayor Michael Nutter and the men and women of the Philadelphia Police Department, we welcome all of you and really hope that you do take time away while you're here to enjoy. I also want to acknowledge some very special individuals that are here today, and I'd ask if just briefly if they would just stand as I call their name. I want to thank Abington Police Chief William Kelly, Bensalem Police Director Fred Herron, Marple Township Police Chief Thomas Murray, and Parksburg Police Chief Brian Scheller. They represent Montgomery, Bucks, Delaware, and Chester, the surrounding counties, that volunteered to co-host this year's IACP conference here in Philadelphia. And I also want to acknowledge the work of IAC President Chief Craig Steckler, incoming Chief Yost Zachary, Executive Director Bart Johnson, the governing body of the IACP, the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as the Philadelphia Police and IACP event planners that made this conference possible. I'm honored to not only welcome you here to Philadelphia, but also address you at the start of the 2013 IACP conference. And I was asked to share some of my thoughts about policing, where we've come from, where we are, where we're headed, and what we must do to create the future that we want. Now, I realize this is an international association. My views are from American perspective. However, I think they apply well beyond this country's borders. So, where have we been? The Philadelphia Police Department was founded in 1797. It's the nation's oldest police department. It's based on the Watchman model that's evolved over the past 4 centuries. The profession of policing is still based on the principles of Sir Robert Peel. And yet our profession changes and reflects the values, social structure, technology, advancements, and political demands of the times. Policing has changed a great deal since I began my career as a Chicago police cadet 45 years ago in 1968. And I can't believe that I've spent 2/3 of my life in this profession. Like many of you, I was part of the changes that make up policing today. We've come from call boxes for communication, pin maps for tracking crime, typewriters, card files to manage our data, and just reacting to crime after the fact. We've come from a belief that we can fight crime alone as the thin blue line, the only barrier standing between law-abiding citizens and lawlessness. In the first half of my career, I believed that my sole job was to arrest bad guys, and I got to be pretty good at it. But let's fast forward 20 years, when then Superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, Matt Rodriguez, put me in charge of developing and implementing community policing in Chicago, the nation's second largest police department. As a result, I began seeing policing differently and have seen the profession evolve to where we are today. I began to accept the fact that the police must have the help of many people, agencies, organizations to create public safety. So let's talk a little bit about where we are now. Today, we are in an era of proactive and preventive policing. We're better informed. We rely on precise data, technology to track crime, and information to help us develop better policing strategies. We measure and hold ourselves accountable for the victories and the consequences of our deployments and the strategies that we adopt. We are being smarter and using evidence-based approaches. We have access to megadata like surveillance cameras, gunshot detection systems, automated license plate readers, and social media data. We use analytics and technology to help make sense of these data and help us make better decisions. In fact, science and technology are among the driving forces of today. Science is playing an ever larger role in policing in terms of forensics, analytics, and developing evidence-based strategies to combat crime. Technology influences the nature of crime as well as policing practices. It broadens the scope of crime and extends the reach of criminals by creating more avenues to commit crimes like fraud, identity theft, and human trafficking via the internet. Cybercrimes allow local criminals to reach beyond geographical boundaries and commit international capers. Why rob a bank with a gun when you can do it from overseas with a computer? Crime and criminals are more networked, diverse, and global. We've joined the social media revolution using technology to connect with people through Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram. We post surveillance video to find suspects and post links to good news stories about our officers on our websites. And in cities like Milwaukee and Boston, police have developed their own news outlets on their websites. We live in an era where cameras are everywhere and information is instantly posted on the internet. All this means we're under constant scrutiny of the media and the watchful eye of countless private cameras and cell phones. Policing is moving from low visibility, high discretionary work to one with more visibility on how our officers use their discretion. And this will result in greater public demand for the control of police discretion. Today, our discretion on stop and frisk is being challenged. Tomorrow, our discretion around arrest decisions may be challenged. We need to understand what this will mean and what we need to do to be a part of the conversation as we move forward. 9/11 brought the threat of terrorism to the doorstep of our cities and towns. It also brought the realization that what happens on one side of the world affects us because we're all interconnected. We have to balance deployment demands of combating traditional crime with the constant threat of terrorism. We understand that the farther we are from 9/11, the closer we get to the next big act of terrorism on U.S. soil. Boston was a grim reminder of this reality. We have to create this balance in face of fewer resources and, in many instances, smaller police forces. I don't think we'll ever get back to the old staffing numbers. And in cities like Philadelphia, where we are seeing a potentially record-setting dip in crime, it's hard to justify the need for more resources. With all the changes we're facing, we are relying more on partnerships and collaboration. While officers on the ground are still the tip of the crime-fighting spear, partnerships and collaboration with people in the communities, academia, private security, and more are needed to strengthen our ability to combat crime and disorder in our neighborhoods. Our relationships with our allies need to shift from one of being a partner to being a collaborator. Where are we going? The future. The trends I just identified, increased use of analytics and technology, evidence-based policing strategies, social media, and increased visibility of police discretion, as well as decreasing resources, increasing demands for collaboration, and an increasingly connected, networked global world will continue to drive how we work and what we face in the future. Technology is a powerful tool. It will be both a benefactor and the curse of policing. Moving forward, we must be thoughtful about technology. We must drive technological solutions to our problems and not be driven by the technologists. We will increasingly face challenges surrounding the issue of individual privacy versus public security. For example, license plate readers are in use now. They could be the predecessors of facial recognition equipment in patrol cars. Just imagine, instead of driving down the street scanning license tags, we're driving down the street checking the faces of individuals that are walking down the street. We have to remind ourselves that just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do it. We must decide where the limits should be before we face or cross them. We need to be part of that discussion and understand that our first priority is the protection of constitutional rights. We need to understand that all crime is local, but much more of it will be global. What is the effect of global-based criminal networks for local police departments? The person whose identity was stolen will call her local police department, and if we cannot help her, then we become obsolete and useless for her and for thousands like her. So how should we respond? How can we respond to situations like that? Our success in policing is currently measured by crime rates, and as our work changes, our measurements must become more robust. What if public safety was measured by graduation rate and not incarceration rate, or harm reduction and not just arrests? What would a CompStat session look like, and who would be sitting at the table? The best way to predict the future is to create it. And we certainly must build on what has worked for us so far, but we can't afford to hold on to the status quo. We must constantly strive toward excellence, build and participate in collaboration, and share our power and influence. We must promote diversity within our workforce and know that our success lies with our people. We must lead our departments into this interdependent, complex, and global world for which we are charged with keeping the peace. We must develop ourselves and our future leaders to succeed in managing the complexities facing police departments of the future. We must recognize that trends are shifting. For example, there's a concerted effort to de-incarcerate large populations of offenders. This is being driven by a combination of economic realities and a realization that for some offenders, prison does more harm than good. The political right and left are agreeing that we need to incarcerate fewer people. For this movement to be successful, it requires sufficient community-based resources and the participation of police leaders in the decision-making process. Otherwise, I fear our hard work and efforts over the past few decades in reducing crime will quickly disappear. Now, I mentioned several trends that will be driving us in the near future. I believe for policing to be prepared for this future, we need to establish a national crime commission that examines every aspect of crime and policing in a democratic and increasingly complex global society. The last commission was convened by President Lyndon Johnson in 1965. Now, I don't think it's too much to ask our government every 50 years or so, stop and look at where we are now and where we need to go in the future in terms of challenge of crime in the United States and around the world. It will shape how we respond in the future. All police organizations, IACP, major city chiefs, major county sheriffs, PERF, National Sheriff's Association, it goes on and on. All the major police organizations have united to call for the creation of such a commission. But national commission or not, we must nurture and grow collaborations and networks. We have to invest in our people and foster participation by outsiders in our work. We have to understand that a fundamental part of our role in a democratic society is to protect the constitutional rights of all people. And we have to define our role in a complex global society and at the same time remain true to the principles of policing. If we don't create a template for our future, others will. If we don't define our role, others will. We must be active co-creators of the future of policing starting right now. I suggest that one way we begin by shifting the way we see ourselves and our role in society. I think we must change the metaphor of the thin blue line. Given all that we've become and all that we anticipate, we can no longer think of ourselves as a thin blue line that stands between good and evil. The problem with being a line is that you're separate and apart from those two things. You're really not a part of either side. I like to think, and as I've gotten older and more mature in this job, I've come to see a more accurate metaphor, in my opinion, one in which the police is seen as a thread woven throughout the communities we serve, a thread that helps hold those communities together, creating a tapestry that reinforces the very fabric of democracy. Our partnerships and collaborations will take on more meaning when we see ourselves as part of an even larger fabric that drapes our world. As a thin blue line, we can suppress crime in neighborhoods, but as part of a tapestry, we can collaborate with others to create safe and healthy places to live and work. We can no longer afford to be seen as something that stands by itself. We're part of this networked world that is weaved from complexities connecting us with each other, the global community, and the people we serve. It's a world that sons and daughters, my son, a new recruit in the Philadelphia Police Department, will inherit soon enough. It's those of us here and now that must strengthen the foundation of policing, plan for the future, and prepare those coming behind us to meet the evolving challenges of tomorrow. This can be our collective legacy. We should pledge to do all that we can to make this a better profession and a better world for them to police. I want to thank all of you for giving me a moment to share some of my thoughts on this topic. Again, I want to welcome all of you to Philadelphia. I hope you enjoy yourselves, and I know that this is going to be an outstanding conference. So thank you all, and God bless you all.